the day the stars vanished. On the 15th of June, Dr. Samuel Carter stood in a busy control room in a big research center in Switzerland. The center was near a small village called Green Hill, surrounded by green fields and tall mountains. Samuel was a scientist who studied how the universe worked. He was a kind man with short brown hair and glasses, and he loved his job. That day, he felt excited but also nervous. His team of scientists and engineers was about to start a very important experiment with a huge machine called a particle accelerator. This machine was deep underground, running under the village and the fields. It could help them learn secrets about the universe, maybe even how it began. Samuel looked around at his team. There were 10 people, all wearing white coats, checking computers and screens. The room was full of buttons, lights, and big machines that hummed softly. Outside the window, the summer sky was bright blue, and the sun shone warmly. Samuel took a deep breath to stay calm. He wanted everything to go perfectly. "Ready," he said in a clear voice. He pressed a red button, and the computers started working. Lights blinked, and screens showed numbers and lines. "Set," he said next. He pressed a green button, and the particle accelerator turned on. It was a long tunnel underground that made tiny pieces of the universe move very fast. "Go," he said finally. At exactly 12 o'clock, he pressed a blue button and the experiment began. Suddenly, everything went black. The control room was dark, as if someone had turned off all the lights. Samuel couldn't see anything for a moment. His heart beat fast, and he felt scared. This was not supposed to happen. A second later, the lights in the room came back on, but something was still wrong. One of his team members, a young scientist named Anna, pointed to the window. Her face looked worried. "Samuel, look outside," she said quietly. He ran to the window and gasped. The beautiful blue sky was gone. Instead, it was darker than the blackest night. The sun was missing. The moon and stars were gone too. It was as if the whole sky had disappeared. In the village nearby, people stepped out of their houses, confused. They looked up, but there was nothing to see. Samuel turned to his team. "Check all the machines," he said. Everyone started working quickly, looking at screens and pressing buttons. The particle accelerator was working fine. Nothing seemed broken. But the sky outside stayed dark, and Samuel didn't know why. The team ran outside to join others from the research center. People from the village were there too, standing in the street. They used their phones to make small lights, trying to see each other's faces. Some people got into their cars and turned on the headlights, making a bright spot where everyone gathered. The street lights in Green Hill turned on, but they were weak and flickered. Everyone was scared. Parents held their children close, and some people called their families to make sure they were safe. Samuel stood in the middle of the crowd, trying to stay calm. He counted to 10 in his head and breathed slowly. He thought about the experiment. Maybe the particle accelerator had done something to the light in the sky. He didn't understand how, but he wanted to find out. He went back inside to check the computers again, but the numbers and information didn't explain the darkness. After 15 minutes, something amazing happened. The sun came back, the sky turned blue again, and the warm yellow light covered the village. People cheered and hugged each other. Some laughed, and others cried with happiness. Samuel felt his heart slow down. He smiled, but he was still worried. What had caused the darkness, and would it happen again? That night, the real trouble began. When the sun went down, the moon appeared in the sky, but there were no stars. The night was empty, like a black curtain, with only the moon hanging alone. People in Green Hill and all over the world looked up and felt sad. The stars were gone, and no one knew why. Soon, the world learned about Samuel's experiment. Newspapers wrote big stories with headlines like, "Scientist steals the stars." People were angry. They didn't care about the particle accelerator or what it was for. They only cared that the stars were missing. Samuel tried to explain that he didn't mean to do anything wrong, but no one listened. People in the village stopped smiling at him. Some shouted at him when he walked by. A few months later, on the 1st of October, Samuel had to go to an international court in a big city. The court was full of people, and outside, crowds held signs that said, "Give us back our stars." Samuel's wife and 2 children sat behind him, looking worried but supportive. In the court, a lawyer asked Samuel hard questions. "Did you take the stars, Dr. Carter?" The lawyer asked, looking at the crowd. "No," Samuel said. "I didn't take them. We were just testing the machine." For a moment, there was no light in our room. Then we saw the sky was dark too. I don't know why. "No light?" the lawyer said. "You mean the sun was gone for 15 minutes, and now the stars are gone every night? You call that nothing?" Samuel felt sad. "I don't know how it happened," he said, "but I didn't mean to hurt anyone." The lawyer shook his head. "You made the stars disappear. That's what matters." Samuel wanted to explain his ideas about light and the universe, but the words were too hard for most people to understand. He was afraid no one would believe him. After a long pause, he said, "I'm guilty." He hoped it would stop the anger and let him find answers later. The court decided not to send Samuel to prison. Instead, they gave him a special punishment. They sent him to work at the Cerro Alto Observatory, a lonely place in the high mountains of Chile. The observatory had a huge telescope, but no one used it anymore. Without stars, scientists didn't study the sky, and tourists didn't visit. Samuel's job was to live there alone and watch the empty sky every night. Samuel arrived at Cerro Alto on the 10th of November. The observatory was old, with dusty rooms and creaky floors. He had a small bed, a desk, and a radio that didn't work well. Every morning, he cleaned the telescope. Every afternoon, he read books about light and the universe. Every evening, he watched the sun go down. It disappeared 8 minutes and 20 seconds after it went behind the earth, just as it always had. This made Samuel feel a little better. The rules of the universe were still the same. Maybe the stars weren't gone forever. At night, Samuel looked through the telescope at the empty sky. The moon and a few planets were there, but nothing else. He felt lonely, but he didn't give up. He remembered a song his mother sang when he was a child. "Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might. Have this wish I wish tonight." The song gave him hope. He thought about the darkness from the experiment. Maybe it was like a wave that covered the stars. Maybe it was moving through the universe. And one day, the star's light would come back. He calculated it would take 3,192 nights, about 9 years, for the light from the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, to return. For years, Samuel lived alone. He ate simple meals, like bread and soup. He wrote notes about his ideas in a notebook. Sometimes he thought about his family and missed them. The world forgot about him, and he was glad. He didn't want people to be angry anymore. Every night he looked at the same spot in the sky, hoping for a change. For 3,191 nights, the sky stayed empty. But Samuel didn't lose hope. He believed in his idea about the wave of darkness. Then, on the night of the 15th of June, 9 years after the experiment, Samuel looked through the telescope. His heart stopped. There, in the dark sky, was a tiny light. It was Alpha Centauri, the first star. It twinkled softly, like a friend saying hello. Samuel's eyes filled with tears. He smiled and made a wish. He wished for more stars to return, and for people to feel happy again. He imagined millions of people looking up, seeing the star, and making their own wishes. The next morning, he wrote a letter to a newspaper, telling the world about the star. He hoped it would bring hope to everyone.